The 200 Duke is the bike with which KTM made its impressive first impression in India, but it's the 390 Duke that really established the Orange brand as a maker of properly serious and quick high-performance motorcycles. It brought in a level of focus and explosiveness that had never been seen at this price point, so it's not hard to see why it's had such a lasting impact. The 2024-390 Duke that you see in these pictures is the most comprehensive update that the bike has received in its 10-year stint, and having ridden it on road and track, it's hard to point out too many areas where KTM could have done better. The one biggest area is the one you're looking at right now. KTM designs have never been to everyone's tastes, and this latest Duke is no different. The Super Duke-inspired look has brought in larger, sharper tank extensions and an oddball headlight design. To be frank, it does look a good deal better in the flesh than it does in pictures, and even in the one day that we spent with the motorcycle, the design grew on me quite a bit. However, the tank extensions are a little longer than they need to be. The daytime running lights flanking the headlight don't gel very cohesively with it, and I think the orange seat on this color option is tacky and an overkill. That said, this is still an angry-looking motorcycle with a nice, purposeful appearance, and tank extensions aside, there is a great sense of proportion here. Whether you like the design or not, you will not be able to deny the noticeable step up in quality levels all across. There are nicer materials used in many areas. The aluminium subframe is a highlight here, but you also see the improvement in areas like the routing of hoses and wires, as well as in the triple clamps, handlebar and switchgear. It's fairly well put together and feels solid too, but we did see a few unsheathed wires in a couple of areas, and there were a few electronic bugs with the TFT screen which KTM is aware of and working on. Speaking of which, this continues to be a Bluetooth-equipped 5-inch TFT display, but it's an all-new unit. The bezels around are much smaller and the graphics within are all new. You've got 3 riding modes. Rain gives you lower output, while street and track give you full output with different screen layouts. The latter also gives you launch control, which holds the revs at 7,000 revolutions per minute. This particular feature seems a little gimmicky as the bike bogs down when you let the clutch out, and I found myself able to manage quicker launches without it, but there are other new features that are more useful. Traction control is a new addition here, even though it has been on the RC and Adventure for some time now. And it works well, intervening with a fairly soft hand when called upon, though still not quite as slick as the system on the new Apache RTR 310. Like the RTR, the new Duke also gets adjustable suspension at both ends for the first time, but unlike the RTR, it's standard fitment on the KTM. Among the features carried over from before are cornering ABS, all the Bluetooth functions including turn-by-turn navigation controls for phone calls and music playback, and the bi-directional quickshifter. The latter works smoother and better than before, but it still does its best above 4,000 revolutions per minute, feeling a little lurchy and jerky below that. KTM hasn't just sprinkled frills over the top though. There are major changes to the very substance of this motorcycle as well, all the way down to the heart of the matter, its engine. The big news is that displacement has been bumped up from 373cc to 399cc, which has brought with it an increase in power and torque up by 5 horsepower, and 2 Nm to 46 horsepower and 39 Nm. What's more, the peak figures now arrive earlier than before, making the performance that much more accessible. On the go, this continues to be a very fun engine to have at your disposal. There is a great rush from 6,000 revolutions per minute onwards, and though it doesn't quite smash into its rev limiter the way it used to, there is good pull available till 9,500 revolutions per minute. And while it's still no tractable city slicker, it does feel more flexible and less fussy than before. Even under 2,000 revolutions per minute, you can get the bike to pull cleanly if you pick up the throttle smoothly enough, and there's less protest than there used to be. That said, this is still very much an engine that tolerates low speeds rather than rewards them, and it's always egging you on to pick up the pace. You'll also want to stay away from the lower reaches of the Tacho because of the buzz that you feel in the handlebar and foot pegs in the 3000 to 5000 revolutions per minute range. It isn't severe, but it isn't pleasant either. That said, this is a high-performance single-cylinder engine, and vibrations are the price you have to pay for that. KTM has done a good job of making the motor feel reasonably smooth for the most part. It retains the signature Duke fun-to-ride character in the handling department as well. Natural and easy are the first words that come to mind when speaking about how the new 390 feels through the bends. You've got a nice interface with the bike and you can latch on brilliantly with your legs with the body position feeling very natural. The bike steers quickly, but feels planted enough, and there is an overall feeling of great comfort, even when you start to attack corners hard. The rubber also helps here. The Duke retains the grippy Metzeler Sportec M5 tires. Also helping agility are the new wheels and brakes, which are 1.7 kilograms lighter than before. Braking performance is still excellent without being too sharp, and the cornering ABS works nicely behind the scenes to keep everything in control at all times. At the same time, even though it now has a slightly sharper rake angle, this new bike doesn't feel as sharp or edgy as the earlier Dukes used to. There's much more stability here, and the tendency of snapping into a tank slapper seems to be a thing of the past. A lot of this is down to the new suspension setup, which is a huge improvement over the Gen 2 machine.